All right, guys. Good morning to you. Good morning to you. Welcome to another episode of Paving the Way. As you guys know, I'm Daniel Wright, your host, and you are in for a short, sweet, and to the point tactical leadership perspective, not advice, not instructions or whatever it is. I can only give perspective because I am not a world-renowned teacher on leadership yet. I'm working on it. But nonetheless, I have a few things that I want to share with you, some new perspectives that I've been enlightened with over the last week or two when it comes to leadership, not just in a company, but also with your sphere of influence, people around you, people in your life, those of you or those that look up to you as a leader in one form or another. So let's get started. All right, guys, welcome back. Welcome back. So, like I mentioned to you in the beginning, we are talking about perspectives that I have on leadership. Well, as you guys know, I'm somebody who I love the study of leadership. I've talked about it a little bit from the beginning of this year that my kind of word for the year, my theme for the year, whatever it may be, whatever you want to call it, is that of leadership. And the reason is because I want to make sure that I'm working to be the best version of me that I can be for the stage of life that I'm at and going to. When I say stage of life, obviously it kind of pushes a little bit harder towards the business side of things as opposed to personal. But nonetheless, every phase and stage of life that we arrive to and have to work and live through is a new version of ourselves that we have to become. Because you guys have heard the saying before, if you do what you've always done, you're going to get what you've always got, right? So there's no growth, there's no development, there's no becoming a little bit better than you were before, things like that. So my word this year, like I said before, is leadership. And I just put out a post on social on, I think it was Monday morning, kind of a little note to self that the leader that you were to get you here is not the leader you need to be to get you where you want to go. Those are, in fact, two completely different people. And as I've been having conversations with some of my peers, some staff, my wife, the total boss, you guys know her, you love her. As I've been having conversations with folks, it's becoming more and more relevant to me that I have to really dial in what kind of leadership qualities and characteristics I need to own and display to go where we want to go. And one of my buddies, Marvin, that you guys know him with Blacktop Banner, he was on the podcast we did a couple of weeks ago, the little segment about what we'd want to talk about if we get a chance to do a deeper podcast, which ironically enough, may be coming up sooner than I realize. So stay tuned for that. You know what? If you want me and Marvin to talk about something specific or you got any specific questions, drop them in the comments here so we're ready to go before we actually record the podcast for you guys. That sounds like a great idea. But nonetheless, I was talking with him recently and he was reading a book and recommended it to me. I haven't yet got to read it yet, but he explained kind of one of the principles or one of the theories explained in the book that as a leader continues to grow in their company and their organization that they build, the machine, that is to represent the company, the leader actually becomes more of the grease of the machine as opposed to the actual driver of the machine or the actual engine that runs it, the transmission that shifts it, or the wheels that move it. It becomes the grease. And if anybody knows anything about grease and automobiles and things like that, the grease is not the fun part of maintaining an engine or a vehicle for that matter, because it's messy. It's kind of, you have to get in places where it's not really comfortable to get in, right? You get in hard spots, tight spots, whatever it may be. It's something that if you put too much of it in, it can create a big problem. But if you don't put enough, it can cause catastrophic problems. So you have to put just the right amount so you don't over grease or under grease. And at the end of the day, if you don't do it at all, well, the whole thing will eventually fall apart, right? It'll be too much friction. Things aren't moving how they need to move. They're not moving as efficiently and effectively as they need to. And it just causes the entire machine, the entire car or business, for this analogy here, it causes it to fall apart. So as I'm continuing to grow and to learn, what kind of leader I have to be, I'm trying to kind of keep that mentality is that my job is to be the grease of the company, the grease of the team, the grease of maybe some of my relationships, where maybe I'm now kind of moving to more of a facilitator role instead of a participant role in everything. It's just part of the evolution of life, the evolution of phases that we go through as a human that's trying to grow and develop to be the next best version of ourselves, is you have to know how you have to show up. Because like I said earlier, guys, the guy I was 5 years ago, the leader I was 5 years ago would have put us back in 2019, 18, 19. Well, guys, at that point, I was out running the crews. I was answering the phones. I was doing all the estimates. I was maintaining all the equipment for however I knew how. Definitely wasn't doing enough grease. That's for darn sure. But I had to be that kind of leader. And then as we grew and we had somebody who came in the office, do admin. Okay, I didn't have to answer every phone call that came in. I had to shift, and I had to provide grease to that department, the admin side of things, the office side of things. Then as we got somebody in who was helping doing estimates and sales things, okay, I didn't have to do every single estimate and put those out, but I had to provide the grease. I had to provide the guidance. I had to provide the smooth instructions and leadership and just direction that they needed to succeed. So on and so forth, right? So now we're at a point where you guys have been following the journey long enough. You guys know we have a team built out. We have an office manager, Amanda. We have a sales team that, Ben is our new sales manager who came in. He's still learning the ropes of everything, but he's grinding it out. We got Brandon, who's been with us for about 6 months or so, 6 to 8 months. We've got a marketing team, with Miranda and Randy who are, helping us on things on the back end of things. We have a operations team, JJ and Ezra and Mason and all those guys that are really leading the way out there. So all these individuals are all part of the machine that makes this whole thing up, right? This whole company that we call Proline all has these different parts that have to move and flow and work together to move this whole thing down the road. So my job is now becoming more of, I need to look out the windshield and see what's coming, right? So that's my job, is see where we're going, see what's coming, keep an eye out for the things that maybe other people who are in the the trenches that they don't see because they're busy really owning what they have to do. But my job is to see what's coming, see where we're going, cast that vision, but also make sure that I make my rounds regularly to all the different parts of this machine, all the different parts of this company, and provide the grease necessary to keep things moving smoothly. And like I mentioned before, when you got to grease things, if you've ever greased any sort of machinery, it is not the easiest thing to do. It's not a hard task, right? It's not like it's something that takes a lot of effort and energy, but sometimes, like I said, those little grease points are in spots where it's really freaking hard to get there. And it's very uncomfortable. You got to get in a little weird position up underneath the machine and get the grease gun attached to it. Or you put too much of it and it just makes a freaking mess. And you're like, man, I might have overdone it on that one. Or you don't put enough on it. You forget a grease point, and next thing you know, you're driving down the road and one of your bearings starts smoking on your trailer or something like that because you didn't put enough grease in it. So it's finding that fine-tuned balance of how much grease do you need to put in each certain area? How often do you need to grease it? How often do you need to check it, right? So there's so many different nuances to such a simple task, but without that simple task, everything would end up falling apart. So something to think about as you go through this week. Any of you who are leaders that are growing, developing your teams, I'd love to hear your feedback on that. Have you thought about it in that way? If you have, what kind of things do you implement as a leader? What kind of ways do you grease your team? Do you grease your machine that you're building and you're running every day? And how does it work for you? So I'd like to know some of that because, as you guys, I tell you all the time, I'm always trying to learn as much as I possibly can. And what better way to learn than from the people who are actually going through it? You guys are going through the trenches of leadership with me. You're going through similar problems that I'm going through. You're going through similar, successes and achievements that I get to go through. So we're all on this journey together. Those of you that are in a team who maybe aren't yet in a leadership position, when it comes to being greased by the leaders of the company, how do you like it? What are some things that you like to hear from the leaders? What are the ways that you like to be given guidance and the vision and know where things are going and what needs to be improved and what's going well? So any of that feedback that you have to offer, please drop it in the comments, share it here, call me, text me, telegraph me, whatever you want to do. I really don't care. I just want to talk to you about it. So I appreciate you guys tuning in today. I'm on a time schedule today, and I have got to get going. But nonetheless, I wanted to show up, give you a quick little 10 minutes of some leadership perspective that I have to offer, and I look forward to seeing you guys next time.